This is Hockey Talk, episode number one. We're here to talk about everything hockey. I am John,
And I'm Mike.
and we're going to discuss all things hockey tonight. All right, let's go. Topic number one, Mike. Our first topic this evening is the PWHL Professional Women's Hockey League. The league consists of 6 teams, started on January the 1st of this year. Some pretty darn good hockey, Mike. I watched a game just last month between Montreal and Toronto. It was February the 16th. It was at Scotiabank Arena. The attendance for the game, Mike, was 19,285 people. Amazing. The place was packed. It was rocking. People were singing. They were cheering. It was really good hockey, Mike. I really liked it. But I want to know, do you think this league is sustainable? Do you think it can last for the long term? And I also would like to know, have you watched any of these games? What do you think of the hockey?
Yeah, I have watched some of the games, and I did watch the one that you're talking about as well. Um, Very good hockey, very fast paced. And I find the big thing here is, and it's so competitive that more so than what you see at the Olympics and those tournaments, because here you have all the best players playing on on 6 teams, as opposed to the Olympics having some teams that are really not really known as hockey nations, and when
Right.
it comes down to it, they just don't have the depth. But these teams have got all the best players, and you know um, the smaller ice surface as well, I think helps the game for them as opposed to the Olympic ice, because
That's a good
smaller
point.
ice surface, more chances. I find it's really good hockey. I've watched it. I've enjoyed it. I hope that this is something that is sustainable, because I think it's great for women's hockey. And you know what? It's exciting. Like I could
It
watch
is.
that just as much as a men's hockey game, uh, and still be entertained. Um, some of these players, like I said, very talented, and it's funny that we talk about it. I was in Montreal last year and was in the elevator at the hotel, and I'm looking at Ben, uh, who and Sarah Nurse is in the elevator with us. So
Right.
like, and we got out of the elevator. I'm like, Ben, I think that's Sarah Nurse. He's like, yeah, I thought so too. I didn't want to say anything. I'm like, yeah. So, but they had a tournament going on in an America Canada tournament at the time we were there. So, but yeah, I totally think that this is great. Hopefully, people will support it. I know if I was ever in one of these cities and there was a game, I'd definitely go to it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I know they don't always play in the Scotiabank Arena. I was looking at attendance and where they
Yeah,
were playing. They're playing in a lot of smaller venues. I understand it's the first year for the league. I believe there's only 24 games regular season. I think it's 24
it's a
games.
short season. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not certain on the amount, but yeah, it's a shorter season. So
So I'm hoping that next year it's more games and more games played in the larger venues so they can get more people in there. And it's great hockey. I was really impressed. When I saw the product on the ice, I thought this is really entertaining. I
yeah.
really liked it. And if I see a game on, I will certainly watch it. No doubt about it. So, all right. Well, topic number two. On Sunday, March the 10th, the Minnesota Wild and the Nashville Predators played against each other. It was just last week. The
Hmm.
Wild are trying to capture a playoff spot, but as of right now, they're 7 points behind the Predators. Now, the interesting thing about this game, Mike, is they pulled their goalie in overtime to help secure the win, and it actually paid off, believe it or not. They scored the overtime goal. They won the game. I mean, I was pretty shocked. But what I want to ask you, Mike, is do you think it was a good move on their part to pull that goalie?
I actually think it was a good move. And here's the thing: whenever you watch an NHL game now and it goes to overtime and a team has a power play, it's, if you've got some talented guys on there, the game's over. They're going to score 4-on-3 on a power play. Uh, I think that Nashville would have had to have gotten lucky and just dumped the puck out and hit the open net in order for them to win the game. It's so difficult for teams defending a 4-on-3 to not give up that goal. I mean, and with Minnesota in the position that they needed to have the 2 points, because if they don't get the 2 points, if they lose in a shootout, then they have no chance to make the playoffs. Which I mean, right now, I think it'd be a real stretch for them to make it because Nashville's just been playing so well. Um,
Right. They won again the other night, didn't they?
they won again last night, yeah. And as far as the other wild card teams, currently Vegas, and I mean, I don't think Vegas is going to lose their spot either. As a matter of fact, they'll probably move up in the standings
Right.
before they fall any further back. So,
Well, the interesting part about this that I did not know is that if you do pull your goalie in overtime, you don't get the 1 point for making it to overtime anymore. I've never seen that happen. I'm sure it's happened in the NHL before. I just haven't seen it. But do you think that that rule should be changed so that no matter what, you still get the point in overtime?
uh, if you did that, then you'd see it more often. Um, I
Absolutely.
mean, I'm kind of divided on it. I mean, I think that if the team automatically would get the point, you'd see more of these teams that are that are desperate to get the extra point. They might do it more frequently. Um, it'd be interesting to see, but clearly the NHL, I think, once they kind of set the rule, they put it there more specifically so teams don't do that. But
Right.
because, like I said, 4-on-3, there's a high probability that if you get control of the puck and you have your most talented players out there, that there's a good chance of you scoring to win the game. So
Right. And even if you don't score, you probably do have control of the puck most of that time, don't you?
yeah, well, I mean, first of all, they're not pulling the goalie until they do have control, and I mean the way that the teams play the overtime periods now, it's all about puck possession. Like they'll pass the puck all the way out of the offensive zone into, you know, back to center just to maintain possession. Where,
Right.
through the course of a game, you more so see them trying to keep it in over the blue line, and they try not to come out over the blue line. But in the overtime, different strategy because it's not as physical because it's only 3-on-3.
Right.
So it makes it easier to have puck possession. And if you can have the puck possession and keep it, you're in a far better chance of winning the game because you can tire the other team out so much easier. If you've got one guy that can hang on to the puck for a little bit, get your other two guys off on a line change, the other team, it's harder for them to make a change if, someone's got the puck in their zone. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, okay, so too bad for Minnesota Wild. Doesn't look like they're going to make the playoffs this year. I
I,
noticed.
I
I
don't
think
think
they're even further behind now. I believe so.
think they're 7 points back.
Yeah.
I think that's what you had said. So I mean,
Yes. Yep.
and it might be more now that Nashville has won their game last
I
night
think
too.
it is. I didn't check it exactly, but good luck to them. Anyway, okay, let's move on to topic number 3. The trade deadline was on Friday, March the 8th. Now, there was a bunch of trades. A number of teams made a ton of moves, some more so than others. I'd like to know if you could name a couple of teams that you believe really helped their playoff chances with the moves they made. And I would also like to know if you could name a couple of teams that maybe hurt their chances. It could be either by the moves they made or maybe by the moves that they didn't.
All right. So as far as teams that I think made some good moves to improve their chances, first I think Florida has done a pretty good job. I don't think they made a ton of moves, but I think getting Tarasenko to solidify their top two lines has made a big difference for them. And they had a strong team off the get go. Started off a little bit. There's some of their defense started a little slower this year because they were hurt. Ekblad and Montour and those guys. So now that they're back, I think Florida is going to be a tough team to knock out. Um, I'll go over to the Western Conference, and I think Vegas has done a very good job with improving their team at the deadline as well.
That was
Uh,
quite a move they pulled off, wasn't it?
yeah, they can maneuver the cap fairly well, though. But getting Hannafin was a good move, and then getting Hurdle. Plus, they got some depth in Mantha from Washington, so I think that Vegas is going to be another strong team. And I mean, it's easy to say that because they won last year, but and they just got Shea Theodore back, who was hurt for 20 something games. So having him
Right.
back is going to make a big difference. And just to throw a third team in, I like what Carolina did as well, getting Gensel, and then they picked up Kuznetsov, who, is a bit of a wild card because he has not been consistent. But if he can find the touch that he had a few years ago, then could be a difference maker. Plus, getting Anderson back in nets from off injured reserve is going to be a big move for them.
What about on the
Um,
negative side of things?
well, and I mean, I don't want to be dissing the Maple Leafs. However, I don't think that they did too much that's going to make them a lot better in the playoffs. I mean, I know the cap room and all that sort of stuff was a challenge for them, and they added some depth defense, but I'm not sure that that's gonna do the job for them. But who knows? We'll see. Maybe Matthews and Marner can carry the team on their own, but remains to be seen. As far as other teams that didn't do much, um, I didn't find that Winnipeg did too much to help their chances. I mean, I found that they more or less remained the same for the most part. They didn't make any really big moves. I didn't find, but
They did make some moves, but
they
nothing
made some
too
moves, but nothing
spectacular.
that was gonna, tilt the scale. I think more in their favor too much, anyways.
All right. All right. Well, that's good. Let's go on to topic number 4. Who do you think will win the scoring race this year? Now, I'll just put this out there now. I made these points as of the end of the 12th of March. I know now today's the 14th, but so yeah, who do you think is going to win the scoring race? McKinnon leads with 113 points in 66 games. Kucherov had 107 points in 64 games. And then McDavid had 103 points, but he had played the least amount of games of 61. So what do you think? Who's going to win the scoring race this year?
I think it's McKinnon's to lose. I mean, I think McDavid's probably going to get up there and finish second, and then Kucherov, I think, will be third. But yeah, McKinnon just goes out and dominates, and not that McDavid doesn't, but McKinnon's line mates and the defense that he's got out there with them just make things so much better. When you've got McKinnon, Rantanen, Nikushkin, Makar, and Taves all out there, I mean, the points are just gonna, you touch the
Flow.
puck. There's a good chance you're gonna get some points because those guys are all super talented. Um, whereas, I mean, the other guys I don't think are playing with players of that caliber that's going to
Right.
tilt it over into their favor. So I think it's McKinnon's to lose.
I like the fact that your dog waits till we're done asking the questions.
Niall. He sees some people out over in the parking lot.
That's
You want me to put
whatever.
him away?
It's not a big deal, really. It doesn't bother me any.
Okay.
Well, you put him away. I mean, what then? That's not really fair to him either.
Mm.
Get him to come over by your side there.
Oh, he was, and then when he heard some people outside. Now, come here, bud. Here, come up here. All right, there you go. All right.
He likes dad. He likes dad. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go on to topic number 5.
All
And
right.
a little bit about the Detroit Red Wings, Mike, because the last time the Detroit Red Wings made the playoffs was all the way back in 2016. And I did a little bit of checking. I believe that they had made the playoffs for 25 years in a row. And
Yeah.
then 2016 was the end of it. Here it is, 2024. Now, I know that they are on the outside looking in, but it's very, very close. For any Detroit fans out there that might be listening to us, what do you think their chances are of picking up that last spot?
Personally, I think that the Islanders are going to get that last spot for two reasons. One, I think Patrick Roy's made a huge difference in changing their style of play to a little bit more offensive, which is good for that team. Two, I mean, they've got Sorokin in nets who has had an average year this year. However, he's more than capable of stepping up in the big games. And this is where I see that, to me, that's where Detroit might be missing out a little bit, is they don't have that goalie that I think can step up in that regard. I mean, right now they've got the Flyers' former third string goalie as their starter. So I mean, if that's any indication, we all know how the Flyers um, have done the last few years. So if their third string goalie's a starter on another team, then it's going to be a tough road ahead. So, but as far as talent goes, I mean, I think Detroit in a 2-3 years is going to be one of the better teams in the league because they're one of the younger teams and they've got these guys coming up as well in the minor league system and from Europe as well that should be pretty good.
Right. And they are close this year. And I don't think they've been close in a number of years, have they? I don't believe so.
Well, last year they kind of lingered around a little bit, and then they kind of dropped off. But
Tailed
I
off.
mean, they weren't a team last year that was pushing for a playoff spot as far as making moves to get into the playoffs, and this year was the same. They didn't really make any trades at the deadline to make the team better to push harder because I think they realize the position that they're in that this isn't the year for them to be going all in. A couple years down the road, perhaps that's when I think we'll start to see them making more moves to get in the playoffs and make some noise. So
Well, let's hope for the Detroit fans out there that they do well. And like you said, maybe not this year, but soon. So that's
yes,
good. That's good for
yeah.
them. And our sixth and final topic this evening, Mike, is we're going to talk a little bit about hockey pool, playoff hockey pools. Now, I know that you have won a ton of playoff hockey pools over the years, regular season pools. You do very well with pools. So I think that you are the person to ask this question to. If you had first overall pick today for a playoff hockey pool, the season ended today, and you managed to get the first pick, who would you take? And you have to tell me why you would take that player. Now, I'm assuming it's a team that you're expecting to get to the Stanley Cup or maybe even the third round. You could think, well, I don't think they could win the Stanley Cup. They're going to make it deep third round. This person should get more points. I would pick them first. Who is it, Mike? Who would you take?
If it's me today, I think it's Nathan MacKinnon, only because I think that it's going to be a Colorado Florida final, and I I don't think that there's
Oh,
a guy on
you're
Florida.
supposed to save that for when I ask that question. But go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all right.
So yeah, so I think McKinnon is the guy.
McKinnon is the first overall pick. Now, what about if you had the second pick? Who would you take? McDavid?
Um, it's hard not to take McDavid. Um, it, I would almost say, yeah, you've got to take McDavid because if Edmonton goes on a run, then he's the guy to have. There's still a good chance he would even lead the playoffs in scoring, even if they don't make the final. However, uh, I try to pick a guy that I think's going to go all the way to the finals to pick as who I would pick as my first overall pick.
Well, exactly. It makes a lot of sense to me. Now, uh, that's the end of my questions for Hockey Talk this evening, Mike. But is there anything else that you want to talk about? I mean, we have some time. Is there anything else that you wanted to bring up?
Well, I mean, we kind of just touched on who I thought might make it to the final. So my prediction is a Colorado Florida final. As long as the Bobrovsky that we've seen this year and in the playoffs last year shows up, if we see some regular season Bobrovsky from last year, they might be in trouble. But I think that's my pick right now for the final. We'll see how much I know about hockey, I guess, once it's all said and done. Um, and I mean, as you know, my favorite team is the Flyers. So we can talk a little bit about the Flyers and what I think of them.
Well, they're in a playoff spot this year, and they haven't been for a while. So, what do you think of that?
Well, I'll be honest, I'm pleasantly surprised. I was not expecting them to be in this position. As a matter of fact, I was expecting them to be one of the bottom 10 teams going into the season, um, only because for one, they didn't have a great year last year. This year, they're a young team, but ironically, I think it's benefited them uh, more than more than what I was expecting. I love Tortorella as a coach. I think he's pressing all the right buttons with that team. Yeah, I mean, love him or hate him. I mean, he's an entertainer for one, so it's one of the reasons why I've always liked him. And secondly, you know, when when he came to Philadelphia, I mean, a lot of the guys I talk hockey with, they're like, "Oh man, he's gonna ruin that team," and blah blah blah, and all this anti Tortorella stuff. But I mean, I love Tortorella. I think he's a coach like him, though. He's got a shelf life on him because his style tends to grate on people as time goes by. But I mean, right now, I think for the team that he's got, it's younger. I think they're more apt to buy into his system than what some older guys might want to do. So
Right, right.
I'm really hoping that they can, if they can win around this year, it, it'll be more than what I was expecting. So just making the playoffs alone, I think, is going to be it's great for the team and gives hope for the future.
Awesome. Well, I think we've had a pretty good chat here tonight. It's short and sweet and to the point, but I just wanted to add that I also have a podcast that I do called Motivate to Move. I'm going to put the link to it in the show notes where we discuss with other people what it is that motivates them to get them to do what it is that they do. So we like to talk to people that keep themselves moving and keep their body going and stay active. And in this day and age, there's so much to take your attention off moving. We like to discuss that. So that note will be, the links will be in the show notes if anybody would like to check it out. And also, the drill. Please subscribe and share. All right. Well, we'll talk to you later. This is Hockey Talk, and we'll see you guys next time. Later. See you, Mike.
No problem. Have a good night.